Hey everybody, it's 4 o'clock on Wednesday, and we are going to talk about the introduction to astrology. So I am glad to see that I got some responses, and I have some questions here for everyone. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Also, if you want to have any questions answered while we're in the middle of the video, that would be great because this is interactive. So I hope you're all well, and I hope you're safe. And, we're over the big hump. I feel we're in a very good place. So this video is about what astrology is, how it could help you in the future, and the different aspects of astrology. So let's just start off with a little bit about me. I help people with relationships, business, family, and health concerns. I have a whole tool basket or toolbox of methods that I use. Besides astrology, holistic astrologer. I'm a mystic and also very intuitive. I use different oracle cards, whatever it takes, the pendulum. So my gift is communicating with the spiritual world and as far as the invisible world, I would say. When you have a hunch, we all have those hunches. You get a little sensation in your stomach and you say, oh, I feel like this is not really the best spot for me, or maybe I should drive down this road instead of another road, and whatever. But I'm here to help people develop their intuition and to understand that we are holistic, we are mind, body, and soul. So moving forward, the interesting thing about astrology is it is the study of the movement and the relative positions of the celestial bodies in the sky. So at the moment you were born, or at the moment you're posing a question, or at the moment of the birth of a country or a business, you get a snapshot. Hi, Denise. How are you? If you have any questions, just type them in there. Really happy to see you here. So anyhow, when we take a picture of the sky with the planets in that position, that is called the natal chart. And this chart is our blueprint, and it tells us so much about ourselves. And how that's done is it's a language. So since the time I was around 12 years old, I really embraced astrology, and I was self-taught, and I had this knack for it. It's quite a science, and there's a lot of math to it, a lot of concentration, very tedious, and you have to have a lot of patience and wherewithal. So once you look at this astrology chart, then there are the different components. The different components are the actual position of the first house, which is the eastern position, the eastern sign on the eastern horizon. So on the eastern horizon was a specific sign, and that will designate the wheel. It's the natal chart, and that sets everything going with the houses. So you have 12 houses, and each house of the 12 houses are part of your life. So they're all life areas. And we'll go back to the houses as far as what they mean and what they represent. Then the other aspects are the planets. All the planets are in a different, it's like a lottery. So all the planets are in a different position, and what each position, each planet in that position it describes a certain characteristics for your personality. So So we have, I believe, we have the sun, the moon, and then we have Mercury, Venus, Mars, and then we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and and Pluto. Okay, we also have uh, the black moon Lilith, which some people use, and then Chiron. Chiron is the newest on the totem pole. So each of those planets are part of the definition and the makeup of your astrology. So people have asked me, one of the questions was, well, wait a minute, I'm a Scorpio, so what does Aries have to do with me? Well, let's go back to the wheel. The wheel is divided into the houses, but there are 12 houses. So that means we have every sign in our makeup. It's like a genetic makeup, but it's a astrological makeup. So, well, how do you know which one's important? Well, that's the interpretation. So the sun is what is very important. So your sun sign is where the sun is in the sign. What sign is your sun in? So when you look at the sun, that's where you shine. So if your sun is in Libra, then that means you're balanced and you're all about relationships. You put other people first. It's about harmony, and you're ruled by the planet uh, Venus. So that's an example. So also, when you look at this configuration of all the houses and the planets and the relationships of the houses and the planets and the signs, then you're able to weave a story with all the keywords. So every single house, we have the 12 houses, every single house has at least 10 keywords. And then every single planet has at least 10 keywords. And every single sign has about 10 keywords. And then the mathematical angles, whether it's 0 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 120 degrees, 180 degrees, 150 degrees, all those angles have meanings. So the angles of the particular planets make another differentiation to the person's astrological makeup. So, not to get you confused, but to give you an appreciation of how complicated astrology is. And if you want to have a great reading, you need to factor in that the astrologer is going to be able to give you an accurate reading by having a discussion with you. So the first thing they'll do is take a picture of the astrological chart, the planetary makeup in the sky, and then take a look at it. So we have all the planets, we have the 12 houses, and then we have the 12 signs. And each sign has specific energies. And we'll talk a little bit more about their energies. So we have Aries, which is the first sign. And then we have the next sign, Aries, Taurus. And then after Taurus, we have Gemini. And then after Gemini, we have Cancer. And then after Cancer, we have Leo. After Leo, we have Virgo. And after Virgo, we have Libra. And after Libra, we have Scorpio. And then after Scorpio, we have Sagittarius. And after Sagittarius, we have Capricorn. And after Capricorn, we have Aquarius. And after Aquarius, we have Pisces. And those are the 12 signs. So If you were to take this imaginary wheel and divide it into fours, then you would see, oh, Denise, you're an Aries. In one moment, we'll talk a little bit more about Aries for you. Okay? Is that okay? Wonderful. So when we look at the astrological wheel and we know the moment that we were born, what that does is it puts the appropriate sign in the first house. So let's say Denise is an Aries and she was born when Aries was on the eastern horizon. So that means that her ascendant, which is the first house, is in Aries. And that means the sun is in the first house, which is in Aries. So we look at Aries, and Aries is the first. Aries is the first astrological sign, so that means they want to be first. It's also about beginnings. It's also about spring, because that's when Aries people are born, in the spring, just like right now. And then we also have their fire signs, they're initiators, they're the go-getters. They like to move. They don't sit there and contemplate. They sit there, they get an idea, they move on, and they get it done. They're the getter-doners. So also, they can be a little blunt, but if you want quick information, if you want solid, intelligent information, you would look at an Aries for that. So as an example, Mercury, the planet, went into Aries on the 11th of this month. And if you looked at my past video, I talked a little bit about that. And what it does is it gives you a different feeling of communication. And if you haven't noticed, pay attention to the way communication's coming across on the media. We know that it's been very confusing before because it was in Pisces, but right now it's in Aries. So what does that mean? Straightforward. It's quick. It's bold. It makes sense. It's logical. And there's optimism to it as well. And you could all feel that. And the good thing is pay attention to that. So if you have the sun in Aries, that means that you are shining in Aries, which means all the key words of Aries is where you shine. So the first house is your personality, but we'll go over the houses after. So when you really want to look at which signs are most important to you, the three most important points in the astrological chart are the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. So the ascendant, like I said, is the cusp of the first house, and that is the mask that you wear, the way that you appear to other people, and it's the way you came into this world. This is how you want to be seen. The sun is where you shine. That's what comes natural to you. That's who you really are. And there's no doubt about it. But not everybody sees the sun part of you. But everybody does see the first house ascendant, if that makes sense. Y'all understanding what I'm saying? If it makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask. This class is for you. This introduction is for you to understand how astrology helps you in your life. So the third thing that we look at, the third most important thing, is the moon. And the moon deals with your emotions. It's the reflection. It's the feminine side. It is what you take in. So if you look at what sign the moon is in, that will tell you exactly how you process your emotions and feelings. So, for example, if you're, I don't know if Denise knows what her moon sign is, But one lady wanted to know what it meant to have the moon in Taurus. Well, the moon in Taurus, Taurus is it's an earth sign, and it is a stable sign. It's like the rock. That's the kind of energy that you have. It's the earth. And also, it has to do with dirt and plants. So when you look at the moon in Taurus, you're looking at things that are going to make you feel emotionally calm, or that will soothe your emotions and feelings. So that person would benefit from walking on the sand, not so much the water, but walking on the sand or on the earth. And yeah, if you want to find out what your moon sign is, you could always pull up one of those astrological charts. They have them online. You could get them for free too. So the earth sign and moon in that earth sign is also something where you would benefit from playing with plants and gardening. That would calm your nerves. So also woodworking, building, carpenters may have some strong earth signs. So that's how that works. And then you take the planets and you see where your planets are in all the different signs. So let's take the planets out of the equation and let's just look at the houses. The strongest positions on the astrological wheel of with the house separations is the first, the fourth, the seventh, and the 10th house. The first house is your personality. The fourth house is your home life. The seventh house is partnerships and relationships. And the 10th house is your career. So if you, whatever signs you have on the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th house, those are more important than the signs in all the other houses. So that's why, yeah, we all have 12 signs, but it means it's so different. It has such a different meaning for the different signs and the positions. So positioning is very critical with the signs and the planets. So when we look at the energies of the houses, I'll start with the first house, and then we're going to go all around. So if you imagine a clock, and the houses, the first house starts at 9 o'clock, and then it goes counterclockwise, not clockwise. So it would go, let's say Aries is on the first house. That's the beginning. That's when you're born. That's your personality. Then we're going counterclockwise to the next section of the pie, and it would be like 8 o'clock, and that would show your possessions. So, you know, first thing is you, then the second thing is all the stuff that's yours. And those are your possessions and everything that you value. Then the next sign is at 7 o'clock, and that would be the sign of Gemini. And Gemini is the communicator. So now we're starting to talk. You have your little rattles and stuff as babies, but now you're going to start talking and communicating and interacting with brothers and sisters. So all those are key words for Gemini. Now, the fourth house, remember I said that was an important house? The fourth house has to do with your home life. And that's everything that happens underneath your home. And it's amazing when you start jigsawing, and it's like a ping pong ball, or actually pinball. It's like a pinball machine with the way these planets and signs and angles bounce off one another. And they tell a story with these key words. And you could see if there's been drama in the home, and I mean severe psychological drama. It will also describe your mother and what your mother is like, her personality. And it's very interesting how it all works out. I can't tell you how many people say, how do you know that? I said, well, that's the way the planets were lined up with the houses and the angles. So that's also why astrological readings take a long time. They take a long time to process, as far as like analyzing them and synthesizing that information, and then giving the report to the client. Also, I'm finding, I believe it's always better to do it multiple telephone or face-to-face readings, because it's just too much information. You know, I could talk for an hour and a half, but I'd like the people to retain the information. We could do step by step. So the fourth house, again, is the house of the home, and it rules the things that nurture you, like a mother, and the type of home that you like, and so on and so forth. Now, the fifth house is, well, what do you do when you're in your house with your family? You have fun, right? You play. So that's love. It's having fun and playing in the home, and that is ruled by the sign of Leo. If I didn't know, yeah, fourth house is ruled by Cancer. So I apologize for not saying that. So the fourth house is ruled by Cancer. The fifth house is ruled by Leo. So Leo is about fun. It's about games. It's about love, because that's what you love to do. It's about entertainment. And the sign of that particular house, when you look at your astrological wheel, will describe the energy and feeling of your particular ways of having fun and entertainment. So, for example, let's say you had Aries in the fifth house. That means that you take the initiative to have fun. You're gonna be the one that's having the party and organizing the party, and let's have entertainment. They make great entertainment people. A lot of actors and actresses are Leos, or they have strong planets in the fifth house. So I hope, thank you for the thumbs up, everybody that is listening. And we got a few more minutes to go. So now we're going to go into the sixth house, which is the natural house of Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign, and it also is ruled by Mercury, and it is what we do every day. So in that house, the sixth house is our job, whatever we do every day, our lifestyle habits, our hygiene, the way we dress and are every day, anything that you do. It's also your health, because that's every day, every day. They're also, it's the house of analysis, and they're very, very picky, and but they're good with the details. So that is the sixth house. Now, the seventh house, remember, that's a strong house, and that is the house of Libra, and that has to do with partnerships. If you want to see what type of a partner would be good for you, that's where you look. You look at the sign and any planets in the seventh house. And when you look at that, it gives you clues. It doesn't mean that, Aries is on the seventh house, so I need to find me an Aries guy. No, that's part of the jigsaw puzzle. So what a good astrologer is a person that has the patience to take all these little components, put the little jigsaw puzzle piece together, and find this picture for the person. And so that's the seventh house, and it's a very important house because it's also a cardinal sign. So, in a cardinal position. The next house is the eighth house. The eighth house ruler is Scorpio. And Scorpio, so after you have a relationship, you find a partner, what happens next? Guess what? The two become one. Now things are going to get intimate. Well, what happens when you're intimate? You're sharing your money. So it's inheritances, it's the partner's money, your money. It's also death because it's the death of your personality, and the combination creates the new. So it's transformation. These are all key words for that house. It's also sex because when two people partner up, the next stage is the that intimacy. So uh, it's a very deep and intense house. Um, and it's also a water sign house, which has to do with feelings. And forgive me if I didn't go step by step and say every single house, what their element is, what their modality is. That's not what this is about. It's an introduction. That it's a complicated system, but you if you study it and you take little bits and pieces, you will get the gist of it. Because every time you look at your astrology, you're a new person and you've learned so much from last year, 10 years, 20 years ago, and more. You're not the same person that you used to be. And hopefully you're evolving and becoming better and better. That's why a lot of people want their astrological chart, because they want to see what their life purpose is, what they came into this world to do, what is going to be a challenge, what challenges did you set up for yourself, and how you're going to overcome those challenges. And you can literally tell by looking at certain planets where divorces may have taken place, or if you had significant losses and you had to have new beginnings, even moves, if you were to move. So it's quite fascinating, and every single reading and chart is so different. It's just like a fingerprint on your thumb. So the eighth house is a very intense house. So now we're intimate, and the next house is going to be the ninth house. So now we're, as you share your life with another person and you do become, very involved in the other person, you develop a sense of uh, wisdom and understanding of how other people function, and we learn to be tolerant. That's where the wisdom comes in. So uh, that ninth house has to do with foreign lands, foreign languages, overseas travel. It has to do with higher education. It also has to do with the associated sign there is Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, and it's also mutable. It's an optimistic house, and so if you have planets in there, it's kind of softened up in there if they're harsh planets. So it's almost like a cooking class when you deal with the astrology, because you're putting all these things in a bowl, and then you make one meal, and then you get another meal, and then you spread it all out on the table, and now dinner is served. And every day that goes by, the planets shift. So as the planets shift, then it changes the picture. Different things happen. That's why our lives are so different from day to day, year to year, and decade to decade. So the next house, again, it's on the cardinal sign where the cross is. That's going to be at 12 noon. And that's a very important position. It's the ruling house of Capricorn. That has to do with the way you're seen by the public eye, your career, your professional standings, and all that kind of thing. So when you want to look at what types of careers would be good for you, let's say you had Aries over there. That means that you would make a great entrepreneur if it was up by the 12th house, or you would initiate different businesses, or you would start different businesses because it's about starting things. It also has to do with government and authority, anything of authority. It's also about money that we cannot control, like the government money and all that stuff. So that is the 10th house. So on the 11th house, we have Aquarius, and that 11th house has to do with humanitarian endeavors, community, friends, hopes, and wishes. So I'm going to talk a little bit extra on Aquarius because we have now moved into the age of Aquarius. Well, what does that mean? An age runs about 2,100 years. So we happen to be here living and part of the creation of the age of Aquarius. And if you haven't seen or felt the shift of Aquarius, I urge you to kind of step back and look around and pay attention to how things are changing right before our eyes, especially during this critical time. How we're now focusing on humanitarian endeavors. Look at just one little virus, what it did to the earth, how things have changed with the lack of our movement has diminished and decreased pollution, all types of pollution, and it's affecting the planet in unbelievable ways. I understand that the seismic footprint has changed and they're having less earthquakes. I read that in the Greek Reporter, and because they have a lot of earthquakes. So it's fascinating to see. I also just read another article about the rats are cannibalizing because humans are not leaving all the trash. And so it's really changing up the whole ecosystem. And there, I see a lot of benefits. I see a lot of benefits of people staying home with their families. It's the first time in many, 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 many years that the actual family unit is forced to stay home. Yeah, it was like a prison sentence. But if you get beyond all that, it's different if we choose to do it. But you know what? I believe we all learned a profound lesson from this, because I'm sure the children that are exposed to having mommy and daddy home, or just mommy home, or whatever the case may be, having meals together, that's all very positive, and they're going to remember that. And they'll probably tell their grandchildren, oh, yeah, in 2020, there was this virus and it was supposed to kill millions and millions of people, and the whole world shut down and nothing happened and nobody went anywhere and we couldn't work and we couldn't go to school. Yay. But children look at things in a very different perspective. But whatever perspective you look at, it's your choice as to how you're going to look at it. It's that paradigm shift. So in life, we have choices. No one can control our minds. But you have the choice to say, okay, this isn't the best situation in the world, but how can I find something good from it? That's the difference between the victims and the survivors. Frankl survived the concentration camp. All these people, these survivor people, how did they do it? Because they kept looking at the positive side of something. So if you haven't learned anything from this video, always try to control your thoughts and think of, well, what did I learn from this not so comfortable situation in our lives? So I urge you to step back and meditate. And when we meditate, I don't care if it's for 30 seconds by doing 10 deep breaths. It'll take you more than 30 seconds, but just to slow down, close your eyes, shut it all out for 1 minute. You are doing so much good to your body. You're reducing stress hormones that are bad for your health. You're benefiting your DNA, repairing your DNA. There's so much research on this topic, epigenetics. So you can look up Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza. There's a lot going on there. So I incorporate all my teachers and all the information that I've been studying for the last 50 years. And I include that in my readings for my peeps and my clients. It is just a joy to help people in their journey of life, and there's nothing more satisfying than that. So the 11th house is what? The sign of Aquarius. And right now we're in the age of Aquarius. We're going to see a lot of innovation. If we're not seeing it now, we're going to see a lot of genius activity because it's a higher level of intelligence. It's for the world. So things that are right now being invented are going to benefit the planet. And let's face it, if we didn't have the internet right now and Facebook and the Zoom and the watch parties, how would that have been? It would have been worse. We wouldn't have been able to have some outlets, social outlets. So we are evolving, and we do evolve, and the human beings will just always progress, and we make best of it. Look back only 100 years ago from today, how different the world was. And 100 years from now, how different the world is going to be. But I ask you to be very mindful and don't give up your power to anyone else. That's not what this is about. Doing these readings and helping you understand the invisible world, holistic astrology, it's for you to take charge of your life and to be confident and to have validation and to understand that you are a powerful person and you matter and you do have a specific purpose. So your purpose 20 years ago may not be the same purpose as it is now, but that's what we're here to do. We're to evolve. And what I did 20 years ago was work in my profession was to work in a medical laboratory. I worked with pathology. I worked with death. I work with diseases. I know a lot about epidemiology. So that was what I did as a career. But my life paralleled the alternative side. I was always intuitive and I had these strong urges and psychic abilities, but I poo-pooed it. I said, nah, that can't be. Oh, it's just a coincidence. Because, back in those days, it was evil. You just don't do that. And even astrology was against my religion. So I had a lot of inner dialogue to, I could call it come out of the closet. But, I said, this is who I am. And I'm doing so much good for the people that use my services. You would not believe what people come and tell me and how much relief they get from whatever they're going through. Because we all have something to go through. And isn't it much nicer to have someone that you could bounce off information and get some answers where it makes sense to you? So, Age of Aquarius is here. Look out. Just look at it this way. It's like we are on the planet of Mars looking at Earth. And so the individual human is not as significant anymore. Now it's about Earth and how the Earth sustains us, because we're really like a virus on the human body, So it's all in perspective. But everything is important. You know, bacteria and viruses are part of the human makeup. If we didn't have those organisms inside ourselves and outside of ourselves, we wouldn't live. There's trillions and trillions of cells inside our body, and there's even triple those organisms inside and outside of our body. And that's what makes things work. And another little aside note about viruses. Viruses are used and have been used for many, many years for GMOs. That's how they genetically modify an organism. They use viruses. So I like to see everybody, I challenge everybody out there to learn as much as you can. Don't be lazy. Don't count on other people to give you information. And, you know, every now and then we're going to bump across some information that we think is true, but that's okay, because that's how we learn. So we're in the age of Aquarius. We're going to make great strides for humanity. We are going to rally together. It also is the sign of revolution. So I don't like to say that word, but you know what? We're revolutionizing the world. So, and the world is becoming one, because this little tiny invisible virus that's what, 40 to 250 nanograms, nanometers. A nanometer is 1/1000th. I believe it's 1/1000th of a meter. That is so tiny. And I hope those masks prevent nanometer particles, not particles, particles. But that's a whole nother discussion. So Age of Aquarius is here. Everything is good. And we're going to move into the next sign, the 12th house, which is Pisces. And the 12th house is the subconscious. It is the invisible world, the magical world where there's no shape, no form, no structure. It's like, think of it like a gas or a blob. It's not containable. It's magical. It's illusion, delusion. It's escapism. So it has a ruling planet. That's the sign of Pisces. And the ruling planet of Pisces is Neptune. So I just wanted you to know that, because Neptune right now, I think it's going to be 4 years. Neptune is going to be in the sign of Pisces. So when the ruling planet is in its sign, that means the energy is stronger. It's like having the double burner on. And so it's twice the energy. And what kind of energy is that? Escapism. And you could use alcohol. You could use meditation. You could use drugs. You could use dreams, aspirations, anything that helps you escape. So before all this started, we had the planet of Mercury in the sign of Pisces, and that did not help. And you saw, and it went retrograde, which means it went forward and then backwards. So Mercury in Pisces for instead of 4 weeks was 8 weeks. And just look back at the last 8 weeks before April 11th, and you could sense the confusion, the unbelievable information that was coming across our consciousness, and it didn't make any sense at all. So anyhow, that is the sign of Pisces. And then we go back to the first house, which is Aries. So I really, really appreciate. Hi, Nick. How are you? That's good. Glad to see you. So that's what I wanted to go over today. And when we do these classes, if you're interested in continuing with the classes, I'd like to do them in a class setting where I could use the board and we be more interactive. But for now, I just wanted to give people a taste of the astrology. And it's 4:45. and we did really good progress. Also, I wanted to say one thing about and if you like the presentation, or if you felt that I could do better in certain areas, please let me know. I'm not that thin skinned. I could take any kind of criticism. I'm used to it because it's constructive criticism. I like to get everyone's input. But astrology was, we have a history of astrology. And I always tell people that are super religious and, they want to tell me something that may be a little negative. But, back during the time of Christ, the three wise men that were from India bearing gifts followed a star. Remember the Star of Bethlehem? Now, you know how long it took to walk from India to Jerusalem? It took about 2 years. So, how did they know to follow a star, to have gifts for a birthday party? I always ask people that. And I said, there's a little bit of validity there. And, if I feel like whoever your God is or creator or whatever, these cyclical patterns in the sky are to help us, and guide us through life. That's what it's all about. So astrology was used with the Babylonians, started 30,000 years BC, and it went through Greece, the Roman Empire, Middle Ages, to right now. And back in the day, if you were an astrologer, and I'm glad I wasn't back then, but if you made a mistake, that was the last mistake you made, because the only people that used astrologers were the kings and the people of power. So if you didn't get it right, you weren't heard from anymore. So I hope you like this presentation. Keep asking me more questions, and I'll provide another one, another series here. We're going to go more into the planets and their energies, but we did get through all the houses, and with a lot of anecdotal stories. Does anyone have any questions before we finish? All right. Thanks for joining me, and talk to you later. You stay safe out there. Bye-bye.